Well, welcome back to Movie Mogul 101. I'm your host, Walt Whitmore, and thank you. Thank you for joining us here on episode 4. Let's jump right into it, okay? If you were expecting clip spoilers or some dramatic reveal from my crime drama Without Prejudice, this isn't the episode. Episode 4 is about something far more important than footage. It's about discipline. Because the fastest way to kill a serious project is to show too much too soon. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free? Well, before I go any further, we've got to ground this episode in truth. Without Prejudice didn't come from a trend. It didn't come from AI, that's for sure. It didn't come from me waking up one day and deciding, hey, I want to be a screenplay writer. I've been actively pitching this story to producers, writers, and directors for over 5 years, while at the same time, I've spent nearly 7 years entering different versions of this same story into screenplay competitions, not casually, not once or twice. I've been pitching, refining, getting feedback, getting rejected, but yet getting sharper. This story has been pressure tested. Now, let me say something. I'm going to say it clear. And just on a professional level. Without Prejudice is a fully developed TV crime drama. It's been registered with the Writers Guild of America. It's copywritten. The work is protected. That's not about fear. That's about process. When you're serious about your work, you protect it before you promote it. So when I talk about withholding scenes or refusing to show the inciting incident, that's not because the story isn't ready. And just to give this episode some clarity, let me talk about inciting incident. The inciting incident is the thing that pulls the character out of their regular life into the adventure of the story. Example, in the film Rocky, the inciting incident is invoked when Apollo no longer has an opponent for his scheduled fight. So he comes up with the novel idea, let's give an unknown fighter a shot at the title. Giving an unknown fighter is the inciting incident. And then we know that Rocky becomes the unknown fighter, which propels him along the character arc. I'm going to say it again. I'm not refusing to show the inciting incident because the story isn't ready. It's because the story is ready. I will share the logline for Without Prejudice because it gives context. Without Prejudice is a prestige crime drama that could be tomorrow's breaking news, diving into the white male-dominated police culture through the experience of an African-American state trooper whose black conservatism is shattered when his teenage daughter is killed by a white police officer. That story didn't come from theory. It certainly didn't come from AI. It came from lived tension, from lived experience as a 31-year cop that retired from 2 different agencies. Now, here's the decision that drives this entire episode. The inciting incident of Without Prejudice, it's powerful. It's emotional. It's irreversible. You can't unsee it. And because of that, it doesn't belong in a teaser. If I show the moment of the inciting incident, it collapses the story into shock. Without Prejudice isn't about shock. It's about moral fracture. A teaser's job is not to tell you what happened. A teaser's job is to make you ask the question, what would I do if I were there? That's why I'm creating a teaser sizzle reel and not a movie trailer. Now let's talk about AI. Because this is where some people get confused. AI is not my voice. AI is not my story. AI is not my conscience. I wrote Without Prejudice. I lived it. I've studied the craft. I've taken multiple classes through the online course Screenwriting U. And I've read a ton of books which were extremely instrumental, no doubt. Not just in creating structure, but in discipline, character truth, and understanding how the pros really think. AI doesn't replace any of that. AI is a tool, like a camera, like an editing system, or like the typewriter was. You see, I'm using AI for proof of vision, not to write the story, not to explain the story, and certainly not to shortcut or cheat the craft. If AI could have created this story for me, it would have already been written by somebody else. Before I explain the 4-beat teaser, because that's the crux of this entire episode, let me first quickly explain what I mean by a beat. A beat is one emotional idea, not a scene, not a plot point. It's the moment where the audience feels something shift. Think about The Godfather, for instance. There's a beat when Michael Corleone, he's sitting in the restaurant. He's cool, calm, he's collected. He's sitting with Sollozzo, who organized 2 unsuccessful assassinations against his father, Vito Corleone, and that of the crooked cop, McCluskey, that broke his jaw. And he's contemplating who he is about to become. Is he going to continue down the path in terms of being a legitimized business person or possibly a politician? Or will he take up the mantle of his family's legacy and eventually become the new Don Corleone? That decision is the beat, not the gunshot to Sollozzo's head. Or think about the movie Rocky. The beat isn't whether Rocky wins the fight or not. And incidentally, if you're not a rockhead, you probably don't know that Rocky didn't win that fight. He lost by decision. Nevertheless, the beat is when he realizes that he just wants to go the distance. Probably the most intimate scene in the entire movie is when Rocky returns from the Spectrum Auditorium where the fight is going to be held the next day. He sits down on the bed next to Adrian and says, "I can't beat him." And then Adrian asks, "Well, what are we going to do?" And then that's when Rocky confesses, "I was nothing before all of this. But I know if I can go the distance with Creed for the first time in my life, I'll know that I'm not just another bum from the neighborhood." You see, the beat is the internal change. We, the audience, we feel it shift at that very moment. Now, with that in mind, every serious teaser follows 4 simple emotional beats. Okay? The first is that of normalcy. This is where you establish order. Not happiness, order. And without prejudice, this matters because the story is about a man. It's about a cop who believes in the system, order. If you skip this beat, the fracture has no weight. The second beat is pressure, not the incident. This is where authority leans in, where the space tightens. Nothing explodes yet, but something just isn't right. It feels wrong. This is where most creators rushed, and then they ruined the teaser. The third beat is that moral fracture, not action, but consequence. It's reaction without explanation. Aftermath, without clarity. The audience doesn't need to see what happened. They need to feel that something irreversible has happened. And the final beat is the most important. Withholding. No resolution, no verdict, no relief. Just title, silence, fade to black. A teaser doesn't sell a story. A teaser sells the question that you just can't shake. If your teaser ends with an answer, it failed. Naturally, some of you might be wondering, if you're chronicling your journey, why aren't you going to show us the teaser? I will create a version of the teaser that I will share. But the lesson and the reason that I'm not sharing the full teaser is because Movie Mogul 101 is the road, not the destination. I'm not building content for applause. I'm building assets for leverage. When producers see this teaser, it will be intentional, controlled, and private. So, episode 4 isn't about what I'm crafting as a teaser. It's about what I refuse to show. I will share a video pitch that I submitted several years ago to a producer for Without Prejudice. The 30-second pitch doesn't explain the story. it explains why this story became my responsibility, why this story became my purpose. The reason I'm submitting my screenplay Without Prejudice for your consideration, after retiring from the Michigan State Police while driving with my 2 daughters, I had a disturbing vision. I envisioned being stopped by this racist cop, and as we get into it, my daughter reaches for her cell phone. He shoots her, and then as he takes aim on my other daughter, I do a gun disarm, shoot him, and then I have to shoot his partner. I tried to force this vision out of my mind, and that's when I realized Without Prejudice was the story I was born to tell.